man, friends and neighbors, or shall I say this afternoon?
Welcome back to the Steelers franchise on Madden 22. I'm your host, longtime listener. Be sure to drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and comment below. It is time for the offseason here. We've gone through the third mock draft, and let's just take a look at who it's got us taking with that 26th pick. They've got us taking Luke Evans, the middle linebacker out of Colorado. Now, what I also want to look at is who they project as still being available shortly after that. You can see here John Harris going to the Cowboys just one spot before me. I might see about maybe trying to trade up. No, he's not worth it. If he had like B's on those scouting key ratings that we saw right there, I'd maybe consider it. But we're looking for a stud if we're drafting a corner with our first pick. But nonetheless, we'll do some more looking around as far as the talent that's available and see if we can't find somebody that we really think is going to help us. Middle linebacker is kind of curious because we've already got Bush there who's really good. If it's not a guy that I think could like slide to the outside and still be really good, I just don't see us taking a middle linebacker with that pick. So that's that. Now we're going to look at retirements in the offseason and just see if there's any really notable ones here at the end of the 2022 campaign. So Villanueva. Aaron Rodgers is retiring. That's a big one. Jared Cook. Devin McCourty finally going. Richie Incognito played that last season with the Jets. He's done. And then we've got a bunch of Alu looks like he got released and then retired because it doesn't have a team there with him. Remember, we traded him to the Falcons for a fifth-round pick, I believe. Any other big ones? Sweezy, A.J. McCarron, another McCourty, which one I don't know. Chris Harris, pretty good player. Emmanuel Sanders, Carlos Dunlap, Joe Flacco. Wow, hadn't seen that name in a while. Colt McCoy, Carlos Hyde. So these are probably like Josh Norman. Some of these guys I think were free agency. Golden Tate was unsigned. Kind of interesting. And Pete Carroll is hanging it up. So those are your retirements as we now go into our second off season, I guess. Now, this is big here. We get one more shot to try and like negotiate with some of these players. Like this guy I don't care about. Like I don't want you on my team as a 27-year-old 62 overall defensive end that's really a 3-4 type defensive end. I don't want you on my team. Now, I can tag Minka Fitzpatrick and basically get him back on the team this year, and that would at least, I believe, give me a chance next year to still try and re-sign him. We're going to lose to free agency, which sucks, but we kind of knew that was coming. We knew Boswell, we knew Joe Hayden. I'm totally fine with him going away. He was a liability this year. Made some plays, but also was an issue out there. Now, let's hit the franchise tag here. $15.5 million for 1 year. We're going to do that. It gets him signed and back in, black and gold for us, and really helps shore up that secondary for us. And we'll just have to try and re-sign him next year to a long-term deal, and maybe just be a little bit more aggressive than we were this year. So anyway, that's that. I think we're now ready to go ahead and advance into free agency, so we'll see what's shaking when we get to that screen. Okay, so we're here. Now, you can see that they had the combine, but I don't really think there's much reason for me to show you the combine results because we'll kind of cover who we are really considering taking a look at in depth in a little bit later in the episode. So rather than combing through all of that, we'll kind of try and keep things short and compact with this offseason stuff. But let's get in and look actually at our roster, because that's really going to tell us what I think we need to try and address this offseason now that like the guys that are leaving for free agency are now off of the depth chart. So at QB, we've got Crawford and Haskins. You know, that's fine for a quarterback duo. We will maybe look to add a third stringer, but I don't know that it's really necessary. Like, if Crawford was to get hurt to where now Haskins is the starter, then I could make a change and go find somebody in free agency to just give us another backup at that point, but we'll stick with that combo for now. Harris, we're good at running back, still fairly young, and Harris looks like he's going to continue to be really good for quite some time, so we're fine there. I don't need to do anything at fullback. Wide receiver, we're still in pretty good shape here. We've got a really good trio of wideouts right here, and then Washington and Ray rounding out the the depth chart there. I still think we're solid, and really nobody that's like at the age where I'm kind of ready to start looking to move on. So we're good there. Tight end, Ebron, Freiermuth. I wouldn't mind finding somebody in the draft that could be like when Ebron leaves, Freiermuth becomes my number one guy, and I would like to have another guy step in and be better than Gentry, but I don't know that we're going to do that through free agency. I'm fine with what we've got at left tackle. We're young, and we're at least stable for now. Left guard, we will need a backup. Center, we're good. Right guard, we're good. But Trey Turner has been a little bit of a disappointment, I would say. I mean, he hasn't been bad, but like going into last season, I thought he was going to be the anchor of my offensive line, and he's just been kind of like decent. Dan Moore's doing an okay job at right tackle, but I feel like if we can maybe find somebody who's a little bit more polished in pass protection than what he is, it might help us a little bit because his pass blocking of 68 is a little bit of an issue. Left end, we're fine. Right end, we need to try and find somebody who is a legit, like, speed rushing right end. When we get that, Wormley can move back inside because here what we would then have would be Hayward and then like Wormley, Bugs, and Shields, with Shields hopefully playing his way into like the starting role in a year or so, because I don't know how many years we've got left with Hayward. In fact, let's look at that real quick. Let's look at his contract. He's getting up there in age, but he's still a very good player. So what I want to see is contract. 2 years left. So we play him through 2023. When he's into that last year of his contract, at the age that he's at, we maybe consider moving on from him. And it might even come down to, like, if I have to trade him away to get a stud defensive end, I might do that because I feel like Wormley is a good enough player that if I put him back inside with, like, Shields, we're okay up the middle to at least stop the run, and Wormley occasionally making a sack here and there. Then we've got TJ Watt on one side and a young stud defensive end on the other side. If Hayward gets me that value by just shipping him off, that's something that I would consider, although I don't really want to do it. Now, Joe Schobert, I feel like, did a pretty good job for us at outside linebacker. He's pretty good in pass coverage, and I like that in an outside linebacker. So he's doing a fine job there, and he's still just 29, probably has another couple of good years in him, and he's at the end of his contract anyway. But I don't think we need to address left outside linebacker for right now. Middle linebacker, we are thin, where like Devin Bush, if he gets hurt, we're in trouble. Like Schobert probably needs to come back inside at that point because Buddy Johnson, when he was in charge of that role, we were a different team, plain and simple. Now Highsmith, I don't really know what to do with this guy because he's like decent in pass coverage, but really he's like a 3-4 type outside linebacker where he's coming off the edge looking to try and make sacks. He's not all that great at run stopping, and his pass coverage isn't like the greatest. But we didn't even end up running a ton of 4-3 last year because most offenses run 3 wide sets, and I like to go to the nickel when that's the case. So while I want to improve here, I don't think it's a huge deal because we don't have him on the field a ton anyway, at least not in the traditional outside linebacker role. Corner, we've got 2 that are really good. And then Witherspoon is now a solid option, but they're 27 and 28. Between the 3 of them, they're starting to get up there in age. We need to try and find a corner in the draft that has some upside and can step into that role in a couple of years. Fitzpatrick is fine. Don't need to do anything there, and I don't need to do anything at strong safety either. So we do need a kicker with Boswell moving on. So that's kind of what we're looking for in free agency as far as maybe some potential ads, but we've got $33 million in cap room to work with. So we are looking to go and land a rock star that helps us in some positions where maybe we could use some help. I think we're good at wideout, right? Now, what do we have going on at tight end? Like, I'd like to find somebody that's like 25 and still, like, here, Juwan Johnson, 26, and he's a 73 overall. Where do I see his player card? Like, do I have to hit make an offer to see it? Yeah, he can't block, so forget that. 34 in blocking. I want somebody who's young, like Foster Moreau. I really like him. He's coming from the Raiders. I'm pretty sure he's a decent run blocker as well. 63 is not that bad. Instead of trying to find somebody in the draft, let's consider maybe making him an offer. So he's on the list. In fact, let's go ahead and just make the offer. Let's bring him in. I kind of have an idea what I want to do in the draft anyway, but we screwed up some of the scouting stuff, so I'm a little bit nervous about what we're going to get there. So he wants 3 years, 2.1 mil. We're going to drop this down to 1.9, and we're going to drop this down to 1.6. I still feel like that's going to be a pretty good offer, and I'll bet you no one else is going to be bidding on him early on, and we'll probably get him. So that's that. We needed a backup left guard. Should we do that through the draft, maybe? Yeah, for backups on the O-line, let's just do that. Now, what else could we consider adding here? Like, I kind of want to see if we can't bring Tuitt back. At 30 years old, nobody's bidding on him anyway. We might be able to get him for a discount. He wants 13 mil, though, over 1 year. I don't know about that. Fletcher Cox, nobody wants anymore. We're okay, though. At D-tackle, if I bring somebody in, that makes it harder for Shields to get on the field, and I don't want to do that. So let's leave it the way it is. All right, linebacker. I really want to look at middle linebacker. Kwiatkowski's getting up there in age. Foster's kind of getting up there in age. I'm looking for somebody like mid to early 20s. How about Nick Morrow? 28? I guess it's been a couple years. Because I was thinking he was still younger than that. But he's pretty balanced. Let me look at him. I'm just looking for a guy that's better than Buddy Johnson. Yeah, he's pretty solid. Let's give him a 2-year deal. Let's bring this down, and let's bring this down to 2 mil. See if he'll take that. All right. I think that's all we're going to do there, unless there is a stud corner. No, there's not. So I think we need to draft a cornerback. We're probably going to draft a kicker as well. So we're just going to roll the dice and try and get somebody that has a big leg, and hopefully we get lucky and they're like a mid-70s overall, with decent accuracy. So, all right, that's it. Let's at least advance this week and see if we get any of those couple guys that we made offers. But not sure what to expect, honestly. My freaking Raiders are losing to the Giants. This season has been an absolute, like, circus as a Raiders fan, which is pretty typical. But a lot of stories. Okay, so Moreau and Morrow both accepted. I didn't even put together the name similarities there, but we got both of them, so I think that's enough for what we've done in free agency. We've got a ton of cap room left so that some of these young guys on the roster that are going to be up for extensions before long, we'll have some money to play with and hopefully keep this team intact. So the next thing that you will probably see is a recap of all of the scouting that we have done in preparation for the draft, and we'll talk about kind of what my hopes and plans are for the draft, and then we will jump in and see who we can land. All right, so it is the week of the draft, and you see here, according to this latest mock draft, they still have me taking this middle linebacker, Luke Evans, with the number 26 pick. I don't really think that this is the right fit for us. He's a middle linebacker where we're already pretty good. I know that he can tackle. We look at his physicals, and he's pretty impressive. So, like, from that perspective, he looks solid. He's also got B awareness. Like, he's got B's and A's there that I really like. So it's a maybe, for sure. However, like, the one area of our team that I've been looking to try and address continues to be that defensive line where I want to move Wormley inside and get a more traditional kind of like pass rushing defensive end to put Watt and another stud flanking him on the other side of the line. Now when we look farther down the draft here, there are no defensive ends. So what I want to show you is if we go to the top, you've got Carlos Barner here projected to go 6th overall to Washington, and like I don't know if I can trade up enough to where it makes sense for me to try and go for him. Now he's got C block shedding, A finesse moves. You look at his physicals as far as at least the pro day, they were all like up around the top 5 except for the broad jump, which I'm not super worried about, but like really good speed, really good strength. The shuttle and cone drill also pretty impressive. So the guy's an athlete. He's got B awareness, and those A finesse moves, like I think he's going to be a pretty darn good player. So while I would like to get him, I don't know that we can. So then what I want to show you is a little bit farther down. You've got Taylor Atkinson here out of Ohio State going 11th to the Colts. Now, he's 280 pounds, which tells me he's really like a 3-4 type guy. And when we look at his physicals, it shows right there with that speed rating. And even the cone drill is not super impressive. And his strength isn't even as good as that Barner dude that we just looked at. Plus, he's got some D's and C's here. I don't like that guy. So again, for where we're at right now, we'd have to trade all the way up to about 6th to try and get Carlos Barner. We go farther down. The next one here is Zach Monroe. Now, I brought him in for a private workout because I thought that this might be the guy that we need to target. His block shedding kind of concerns me as a D, but he's got A finesse moves, he's got B for tackling, and the power moves at a C are like acceptable. So while I don't know that he's going to be great in the run stopping game, look at his physicals. In both the combine and the pro day, he was top 4 in most of the categories, and then on pro day, he was top 4 in everything. So this guy is a freakish athlete coming off the edge with that kind of strength and speed. He's going to be a nightmare for guys to handle. He's got really good play recognition. And again, there are some of those attributes there that concern me a little bit, like the C awareness, maybe. However, I think that guy is a stud. If we can get him, he's probably going to be a star dev trait or better. And like what I'm hoping that we can do here is trade up and get somewhere in the neighborhood of like 10th. If Barner is there, we grab him. If he's not, we look to get this Monroe guy. Now, our backup plan, if like we trade up and both of them are gone, that's where it gets a little bit interesting because we see Dell Wilkinson here. We don't know his power moves, finesse moves, or block shedding, but he can tackle. And then he's got like decent strength. The speed's an issue. He's got some acceleration, but like I don't know that this is the guy that we would want to take first overall. So like that's not really the fit. And then we just keep kind of slipping farther down the board thinking like, all right, well, who would still be available? And that's where maybe we start looking into some linebackers as options as a backup plan. And again, like if we look at what this guy brings to the table, he's okay. Now, John Harris is the other one that like might be the guy that we would take, but he's the best corner on the board. However, like C catching, C press coverage, and C zone coverage concern me a little bit. Now it does say that he's more of a man-to-man type of corner, so I'm hoping that his man coverage is a B or better kind of thing. He's got really good speed. His athleticism is incredible. He's not super strong, but at corner I can look past that. Now, he's also got B awareness and B tackling. So, and he's durable with an A injury. So that's a guy that I think would be who we would select if we don't get that defensive end that we're looking for. Now, the challenge is in order for me to get up there and get that pick, I'm thinking that we need to either package like 2 first rounders or maybe like a first rounder and a second rounder kind of thing. Or we do what we talked about earlier and move Wormley inside, trade away Cam Hayward. We know we get worse at defensive tackle, but we're still not bad at defensive tackle. We've got a really good middle linebacker and a pretty decent set of linebackers anyway. Where we would struggle at that point is like we wouldn't have another good defensive end. So I really don't know what we would do at that point. So it's a risk, but I think it's one that I want to try and take. It sets us up for long term, like having a really good situation with the salary cap. We're already in really good position there, but my goal long term is to keep the team intact with the players that we want. We are gonna re-sign them, period. So let's kind of take a look here at the draft option. And the team that I'm thinking about trading up to is, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 10th. However, when I went in and started kind of playing around with looking at who might be interested in a trade, there are very few teams that have cap room. So if we're going to package Cam Hayward, the only team that I saw that was like a maybe fit was the Dolphins. And interestingly enough, they were the team that was looking to take a defensive end there with their they have 2 picks back to back in the first round, and they show a little bit of interest in Cam Hayward here, and they have some cap room. Now, I don't know how this will work as far as whether or not they will actually let them take the cap hit here and go into the negative, but we're going to try it because I really, really want to get up there and get that defensive end. And I'm thinking I can get their number 12 pick with this package right here. We're looking again to get that defensive end that gives us another edge rusher. We move Wormley inside, and I think we're in pretty good shape. So let's give this a crack, see if they take it, and we'll go from there. So come on, please accept this. Done. So it was just enough to get it done here because they weren't really crazy about Hayward because of his age. But again, this is going to be interesting because now when we go into the draft, which we're going to do here in a second, we pretty much have to get a defensive end or we're in trouble. So stand by. We'll jump into the draft here shortly. All right, here we go. It is time for the NFL draft. We like to just go ahead and pause it right off the get-go Now, these first few picks, we're going to go ahead and just do one at a time because we want to see who's coming off the board. We assume that it's pretty much going to follow the mock draft early on here. So quarterbacks are coming off the board. That's fine with me because I'm not really looking for one. And I highlighted a bunch of players that we're kind of interested in drafting anyway. So now here is where we'll see if the Redskins take Barner like they were projected to, and they do. So now is where I start to get a little bit nervous because I really want that right end, that Toby Talley guard there at that the Lions just picked. I actually saw he looks like he's going to be a stud. All right, so the Giants. I wish it would show you like what their top needs are when they're on the board. They take a tackle.
All right, next up,
Jenkins. Now, I think didn't the Colts take a defensive end?
Now we turn to the
Okay,
Steelers.
so they took Taylor Atkinson, and that was the one, remember, out of Ohio State that wasn't really our fit. So now let's make our selection, and we're gonna get the guy that we want. It was the right end. What was the dude's name? Zach Monroe, speed rusher out of Texas Tech. We've scouted the crap out of him. We think this is our guy. I'm a little bit nervous about the block shedding. The physicals are off the charts, though. So he's going to make up for some of those issues with just pure natural ability. We don't know his injury situation, but this is the guy.
Okay, next up, it's the Dolphins
So,
on the clock.
and he is a hidden dev trait, which we obviously were hoping for, and with his physical skills, I kind of assumed that that would be the case, although last year with Grant Crawford, it turned out to not be the case. So now let's just go ahead and we can skip ahead to our next pick. Remember, we have 2 fifth-round picks. I'm wondering if we shouldn't trade up and try and get like a late 4th rounder or something instead, but we'll just roll with what we've got. I don't think it's going to matter too much. So let's see what's available on the board at this point. We're going to look at I want to see where can I just sort by my favorites? Yeah. So Joshua Little is still on the board. All right, hang on. So there's one QB that's on the board. Now, this is a guy I'm not going to draft in this round, but, I did kind of at least scout QBs a little bit in case we try to take one in the late rounds as our, 3rd stringer. This guy's just got really good speed and athleticism, so I feel like he would fit our mold. Doesn't have very good throw accuracy or whatever, but he's there as an option. Again, that's probably, if he's there in the 4th round, maybe we take him, or maybe even in the 3rd if I just can't find anybody else that looks like what we're looking for. All right, so Josh Little, remember, this is the guy that they told us to keep an eye on. I don't really know that much about him. His physicals aren't really that impressive either. And then when we look at his skills, like, he can run block, but he can't run medium routes. Like, I don't know enough about him, and what I do know is not that impressive. So that's a hard no there. Don't need a tight end or a tackle. Guard, Philip Wilcox. Let's take a look at Philip Wilcox here. Pass blocking. That's impressive. Now, nothing here really jumps off the page. Now, the speed I wish was a little bit better, or the strength. Those both being a little bit weak kind of concern me, but he's got B, pass block power, A, pass blocking, C, run block power, and then his physicals, like, his quickness isn't that bad, so that's a maybe, but let's maybe try and look, let's just keep looking. I'm not taking a center. I'm not, well, let's look at, I do need a guard, but it's a backup. So, like, everything else we're looking at now is pretty much backups. Impact block is all we know there. Pretty good physicals. So, he gets the edge so far, him versus that other guy. Very good pass block finesse. Pretty good run block power as well. So, Nathan Bundy, remember that name. Nathan Bundy at right guard, that's a maybe. Now, we don't need an end. We already took one. Defensive tackle, if you're a stud, I will consider you, but I really don't need any now. B, block shedding, and power moves. Those are all just like kind of okay. So I mean, those aren't bad, but again, I think with now Wormley moving inside and Shields, Bugs, and I can't remember who else there, I think we're all right at defensive tackle. Let's look at linebacker because we might need to address this. Mike Tracy, projected to go second or third round. Don't know much about him on that front. His physicals, he's got decent speed, he's got good quickness, he's very strong. So he looks like he's fairly athletic. That's good. A for injury, C-man coverage is okay. He's got really good play recognition as well. So Mike Tracy, I think, just moved to the top of the board for me because I feel like we need to address outside linebacker. What about Sean Gore? He's got C pursuit. His physicals are very good. He's fast. He's strong for a middle linebacker. Very good. I mean, he's first in a lot of categories there. That's impressive. And B awareness, B hit power, B impact block. I like it. I've actually got to take a break and come back and finish this later. So hang tight. All right, so we looked at Sean Gore, and based on what we know about him, I think he moves to the top of our board for the moment. We've got this guy here, Mike Tracy, that, you know, when I look at his overall ability, I don't know any of his key ratings, which kind of scares me. Now, he's strong. The speed is actually acceptable, I feel like, for an outside linebacker. The combine wasn't the greatest 40 time, but at the pro day he did okay. You know, he improved it. And a 4.68 is pretty quick. So and he's got agility. The A play recognition I like. C-man coverage tells me that he might be okay in pass coverage as well. So we'll keep both Tracy and Gore on the board. And again, take another look here. The one thing that kind of concerns me here is, of his key ratings, we know that he's a C in pursuit, which might not be the greatest. And his bench reps at 22 bench reps, that's a little bit light for a guy that, if he's blitzing, is probably running into like a tackle or a fullback or tight end, somebody blocking that's probably got a little bit of size to them. So I don't know about that, but the speed is like hard to argue with, and I like guys with speed. And then here we know like B awareness, even though he's got C pursuit, if he's aware and can recognize the play, I feel like, you know, his physical skills will make up for an average rating in the pursuit column. So that's kind of what I'm thinking there. I'm not going to bother looking at this guy. You know what? We might as well, just in case he's like a sleeper that is undervalued. Okay, I don't know anything there. Now he's got pretty good physicals as well, like crazy good speed, which may influence this decision because look, he's also got B in man coverage, so this could be a good guy to maybe try and get in the next round and still get some value out of because of his athleticism. So I'm actually glad that I looked at him. And now we'll look at Jason McDonald here. Projected to go second or third round, A pursuit. He's only 21 years old. The speed is right in line with the guy that we looked at left outside linebacker. He's not quite as strong. And he's not quite as athletic, but let's look at his skills and see what we got. B injury. So all A's and B's as far as what we're seeing. And then the B man coverage and play recognition, A pursuit. I kind of like this guy. So I may give him the edge over that other outside linebacker that we looked at. Now, I really want to draft a corner, or wanted to, but I don't even know if I talked about it. We went and picked up a depth guy at corner because looking at what was there in the draft, I didn't see anybody that I was going to consider taking in the first round. Um, and so I didn't think we were going to address it in the draft. And like looking at this guy, he's got really good speed and the athleticism is pretty good as far as his cone drill and his shuttle, but he's weak as can be, like 5 bench reps. I mean, you give me some time to train and bulk up a little bit, and I could do 5 bench reps, and I weigh 170 pounds. Play recognition is a D, so like there's just nothing there at corner that piques my interest. So I think basically we need to decide between Mike Tracy at left outside linebacker. Let's take another look here. We don't know any of his key ratings. He's 22 years old. The speed is acceptable. The strength is outstanding. The athleticism is pretty darn good. So he's got that going for him. C, man coverage, and A, play recognition. He's got A for an injury rating, so the guy's never going to be hurt. I just wish I knew some more of his key ratings, like at least tackling I want to know as a linebacker. And we don't have that for either of these guys. So one more time, look at Sean Gore. So Sean Gore still stays on the board here. The C pursuit worries me a little bit, but isn't this the guy that's got crazy good athleticism? Strength might be an issue if I try and move him to outside linebacker, though. I know he's got B awareness, but I don't know his pass coverage skills at all. And we have this other linebacker here that we looked at that could be a steal next round. So Jason McDonald, what do you got for me, bro? A pursuit, 21 years old. His physicals, the strength was really good at the combine and then slipped a little bit at the pro day, but he also improved his speed at the pro day. And I'm not worried about his athleticism. You know what I mean? Like I think this guy could be pretty good. He might not be super polished right away as far as like his physicals aren't crazy impressive, but they're good enough. And then what I see here is all A's and B's. And the B in man coverage is appealing to me along with the recognition and pursuit. So I think this is our guy. Let's just go for it.
The Packers are now on the clock.
All right, so he's a normal dev trait, which I kind of expected. 83 for the speed isn't that bad. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more agility and or change of direction, and strength at 78 might be a concern. Need to try and remember to go back and look at guys like, what was his name? Gore at middle linebacker, and I think Bundy at left outside linebacker, but
All right, it's the
let's
Steelers
see what here
on the
now. It is the 3rd round. Let's come back in. Sort by favorites. All right. So, like, I was never impressed with Josh Little. We're not to the point where we're looking at day 3 guys yet. There's still a couple centers on the board, both listed as day 3 guys. We'll maybe try and go get one of them in the next round or two, because I actually kind of liked, I'll show you what we've got here. A couple of these guys actually look like they could be decent. B for run blocking, C for impact block, not like super crazy impressive. Bench reps for this guy could be a little bit of an issue. Like, he's not the greatest in terms of his physicals, but when we're talking a day 3 guy, you know, you're not expecting a stud. Now, he's got good run blocking overall from what we can tell there. I don't know about his awareness or his pass blocking, but that's a guy that's a maybe for late in the draft. And then Torrey Fargas out of Penn State. B, run blocking. His physicals are okay. The bench reps went down on the pro day, but he was pretty darn solid at the combine. 29 reps is good enough at center. And then he's also got really good run blocking skills from what we can tell. So, we don't know what we're getting in the pass blocking scheme with either of those guys, but they're good enough that I would consider drafting them. Now, we don't need an end. There's one tackle still on the board. C power moves, B tackle. He's 303 pounds. The strength may be a little bit of a concern at defensive tackle. He doesn't have really good top end speed, but he does have some quickness, which can be key on that interior line anyway. Like, your 40 time doesn't concern me too much when you're a defensive tackle. And then B's and C's here are like, yeah, maybe. But he's probably a guy that we maybe look to try and get in the 4th round, not this round. All right, so neither of those guys there for right now. That linebacker's gone. Day 3, day 3. Oh boy, it's slim pickings now, guys. So let's go here and look at all. Joshua Little, I don't remember seeing anything that impressed me with this guy. I don't know any of his key ratings. He's not very impressive in that department. There's nothing that he excels at. He can run block. I'm not drafting this guy. Maybe in the 5th round, just because there might be something about him that we just don't know. Do we go with this Higgins dude? Let's go back through again and look at all the options that are still highlighted for us. This guy, I think, was the one that appeals to me the most. But as a day 3 projection, I'm going to try and get him in the next round. The only thing that concerns me a little bit is his strength because of how far apart those were, Combine and Pro Day. But he's got quickness. So I think he's okay, but again, the strength may be a little bit of a concern. It's rated as poor over there on the side, and then he only did 25 reps. That is not very good. Want to see bench reps for an offensive lineman at 30 or better. He got close at the combine, but then went the other direction. But he's got, you see there, run block power, B. So maybe it's a fluke. He's just got really good technique that makes up for a little bit of a lack of strength. Would be kind of what we're hoping for there. But again, he's probably a backup anyway. Well, he is a backup. Might as well look at some more defensive ends just to see if there's any steals down here. I don't like what I see on that page. He's got really good speed, and the quickness is pretty good. Strength is okay. It went the wrong direction at the Pro Day, but 28 bench reps as a speed rushing left end is pretty good. Skills, nothing there that's impressive. So that's, we'll maybe try and get him later. Later in the draft, I'm okay taking guys that just have crazy good physicals but don't have good skill sets. Like here, this guy, B, B, and B on those key ratings, I like. Now, he's a big dude, so let's see what kind of strength he has, and maybe this could be a guy that we move inside as a defensive tackle. He did 30 bench reps at the Pro Day and 28 the day, at the Combine. So those are pretty good. The speed is all right, but he's not a speed rushing kind of guy, and the quickness is actually okay. Did we get anything else here? Play recognition, block shedding is also a B. This guy could be a pretty decent defensive tackle. So he's a maybe. Let's compare him to Jalen Higgins. Let's try and get better on the D-line. We lose Cameron Hayward. We need to try and, bulk up there again. So power moves are okay. He's got good tackling. Strength is an issue. Speed. His bench reps are basically the same as that other dude we looked at, but he's got no speed compared to the other guy. So I think it's that right end would be the pick here. Let's go back and look at linebackers. Was there anybody that I think could be a B pursuit isn't bad. His Speed and quickness are acceptable. Strength is also acceptable. Be awareness. I think this is the guy. Let's take another shot at linebacker. And hope that either that D tackle or defensive end are still there later. Like, this is another guy. B pursuit, B tackling. His physicals aren't the greatest, though. But, like, all of those are pretty good with the exception of stamina, which I don't care about when you're a backup linebacker. There was nobody here. What about Cliff Taylor? Last guy we'll look at. B pursuit, C zone coverage. He's got good speed and quickness. Strength is a major liability, though. Yeah, I mean, I like the B awareness and the B pursuit, but even his finesse moves are D, and he's not a guy with strength. So if he's blitzing, he's pretty much useless to me. Let's go. Was it here? Was it this dude? B pursuit. His physicals are pretty solid. And B awareness. Yeah, I think this is our guy. Then we'll look back on the defensive line with our next pick.
Let's
do it.
Now, it's the
Byron
Packers.
Cruz.
Time is ticking.
Another normal dev trait, but like farther down in the draft, I'm not expecting a ton of hidden dev traits. Last year was like a crazy exception for me because I didn't get a hidden dev trait in the first round when I feel like I usually do. But then I got them in the second and third round.
Okay,
So
the Steelers on the
take
clock
it.
now.
All right. Let's see what we've got here. Are any of those D linemen still on the board? We're going to start seeing less and less guys show up on our board here. I like that these two guys are still here. Fargus is the one that we're kind of looking at. Was it Cameron O'Neal and Jalen Higgins that we looked at as... Like, this guy has really good key ratings, all Bs, and then his strength is good enough to make it a defensive tackle. This is our guy.
The Packers are now on the clock.
Normal dev trait. Speed is pretty good. Strength and the acceleration, agility. Strength of 82 isn't that bad for a defensive lineman. So I think we got a pretty decent pick there for this far down in the draft class. Now let's go to our next. We've got 2 5th-rounders.
And the Steelers on the clock now. Let's see what direction they go.
Let's go and get one of those centers. So we'll start there. Torrey Fargus. I think he's the only one left. And he's actually the one that I feel like I wanted. B, run block. Strength could be an issue. But the other stuff is actually pretty decent, you know. There's not a lot of centers. So when you go and look here and it's like, ooh, he's 4th among centers. Well, that could be misleading because there might only be 12 in the whole draft class. And it's relative to the draft class. So if it's a weak draft class and he's still 4th, that's not really that impressive. But all of these looks like, I know the guy can run block.
The football team now
Take
on
him in
clock.
the 5th
Let's see what
round.
they do.
Strength of 80, maybe a little bit of a concern, but did we see his awareness? No, we didn't. That's all right. Okay, now we got another 5th-round pick coming up here. Let's go ahead and advance to it. We should still have a few guys left on our board.
Now we turn to the Steelers. They're on the clock.
Let's see what's there. I feel like, what do we need to address here? I don't even know. Okay. See, this guy is still there. We got some corners. I'm going to wait and try and get the kicker in the next round. All I was looking for in the kicker is their strength rating. Like, he's got A awareness, which I like, and I can see that his accuracy, while it's decent, it's not good, but that's okay out of a rookie. His bench was the best at the combine. I was trying to just find somebody who I thought would have good kick power. His says decent. I didn't realize that they had it over there to the side. So I actually need to go back in and look at kickers and just find somebody who can kick it a mile, hopefully. I don't care if you can kick it straight. I can make up for that a little bit. But like here, Josh Little is still there late in the 5th round. He was projected to go in the 2nd or 3rd round. My team told me to go look at him. There must be something about this guy, even though he's not super quick or agile. Maybe he's like a really good route runner on like short routes. And we can use him in the slot or whatever. So I will look at the next guy down who was not projected. So Jalen Higgins. Remember, we just drafted that defensive end thinking we would put him at tackle. And this guy is basically the same player, but not as fast. I don't want another one. So let's go ahead and take this Josh Little. He's probably terrible, but we're taking a shot this deep in the draft that maybe he's like a hidden dev trait.
Okay,
Like, why were they
next up,
telling
it's
me
the
to go get him?
Packers on the clock.
Speed of 88 actually isn't that bad. He's got decent agility. I don't know about his ability to catch the football, his awareness. Like, I don't know a whole lot of that stuff, but at least he's a good run blocker. So, I don't know. We'll see what we get out of him. All right, so now we're getting into the serious depth of the draft class here. So, late
The Steelers
6th
are now on the
round.
clock.
Are we going to have anybody still left on the board that we've tried to zone in on? This guy is still there. I'm not crazy about that D tackle just because I don't need him. Now this guy's got good pursuit, good tackling. His physicals are respectable. He's a little slow and a little on the weak side for the bench reps. But I'd be using him as like a coverage guy. I wish that speed was a little bit better, but he's usually going to be covering a tight end. He can tackle, he can pursue, he's got good catching. So he's actually not that bad. But let's look and see if that corner is polished at all and has any like redeeming qualities whatsoever. I don't know any of his key ratings, so his physicals better be pretty good. He's got speed and agility. He's weak, but at corner I can look past that a little bit. Let's take a shot on this guy.
The Packers are on the clock. Who do they
I
have their
don't
eye
expect a ton out of him as a 6th round pick at corner, but maybe he's got like potential as a slot corner at some point. We'll see. All right, skip ahead to our final pick. It's going to have to be a kicker. So we're basically looking for whichever kicker has the strongest leg. If we get a guy that's terrible,
on? All right, it's the
we
Steelers
just
now on the
cut
clock.
someone and go pick somebody up in free agency. It's that simple. So, who is there at kicker? Still a bunch of guys. So we're looking at Nolan McDowell. Kick power is decent. I don't want decent. I want kick power like great. I don't really care about anything else, honestly. Marginal. Really? Lucas Davenport. B awareness I like. Poor kick power. So decent is starting to look good. Jeez. Okay, this is the guy that I was looking at, and he was decent, wasn't he? He's got A awareness. I know his accuracy, and his power is as good as anybody else. Matt Lockbaum, last but not least. B awareness. Decent kick power. So I think it's the guy that we had highlighted anyway. There's nobody else. I guess he's my guy. We'll see what we get. And again, if he's terrible, you know, he gets a rookie kick power 89 isn't terrible. So I'm actually okay with that. We'll see what he is overall. He's probably like a 70 or something. But let's go and look and see how we did. We don't have any more picks. So I'm really concerned that that D tackle or the defensive end that we took in the first round, even though he's a hidden dev trait, I need him to be like at least a 75 overall. If he's not, we're in trouble. So let's go ahead and look at the recap of the draft. Come on, give me like a 79. Come on, baby. Do it. 79. 76. Not terrible. All right, and then we got a 72 at outside linebacker, a run stopper type. He's a speed rusher, which we kind of assumed was going to be the case. And he's going to be the starter. Like, he's just going to be. Then we got another defensive depth guy at outside linebacker. This guy, a 70 overall, and I'm going to probably move him to the interior. I think that's a pretty good pick in the 4th round. Then we got a center that's a 65 overall. Not terrible considering, you know, we took him in the 5th round, knowing that he was going to be a backup anyway. Now here, Josh Little is a 68 overall. Let's see, like, what can he do? His speed ratings aren't the greatest. Change of direction's not terrible. Catching 81 is acceptable, I guess. He can't catch in traffic very well, though. Can't run routes, either. Like, if you can't get open, I don't have much use for you. So, unfortunately, he's always going to be a depth guy. Porter, a 64 overall. And then here, 70. That's not that bad. So I think we'll just roll with him. Ed Evans. So there you go. That's a look at the draft class. Now, I do want to go and look, actually, let's go back in there. Because I want to see around the league who got some good draft classes. So we'll actually look team by team. I think that'll be interesting. We should be able to do that, right? Yeah, so let's go. We'll start with the Bears. Oh, Bears. They go for a quarterback and get a 74 overall with the number 1 pick in the draft. Let's see what his dev trait is. Can I look at normal? So they got pretty much what I got with the late pick in the 1st round last year. Demarius Humphreys, a pretty good left tackle. A pretty decent right end. So they actually drafted pretty well all the way down the board. Nobody is like a stud, but nobody is a bust. Wait, no. And then the Bungles get a wide receiver, 76 overall, and then a bunch of trash. So that's that. The Bills. Yeah, Denton, that middle linebacker, 71 overall. Not the greatest. You got a running back, a 73. So this guy was on our board. He went in the 4th round, a 73 overall. I would have liked to have had a guy like that deep in the draft. All right, what else? Broncos, a decent right tackle. Their best pick was in the 3rd round, a 72 overall. Interesting. The Browns, an 80 D tackle with the 28th pick in the 1st round. So that's a steal, and then this is a total bust. Now they get a decent halfback here, 73 overall, but you can usually get halfbacks kind of deep in the draft that are okay. Buccaneers, Jenkins, 77 overall, wideout, pretty good for a pick that late in the draft. We thought about taking this guy, remember? and he's a 72 overall. So that's that. Cardinals. 74 wideout, 73 corner. That's the best corner that we've seen so far. So keep an eye on that. 73. That's okay. And we could have got him. We would have had to have taken him in the first round to have gotten him. So that's that. Chargers. Outside linebacker. QB. We looked at this guy too. That's actually pretty good for a third round pick. A 70 overall. It's not that bad. The Chefs. 70 at wideout. A 75 strong safety with the pick late in the second round. That's pretty good. Colts. We looked at maybe drafting that guy, but he's that power rusher type at defensive end that we didn't really want that kind of mold in a 4-3. How about a center, 74 overall in the third round? That's not that bad, but that's usually centers don't go high in the draft unless they're just an absolute rock star. So that's that. Cowboys. Okay, so John Harris, this is the one guy that we were kind of considering. He's a 75 overall, but is he a hidden dev trait? No, he is not. So I would have been upset with that pick. Even though he's not that bad right now, he's not going to be a stud unless you get a breakout scenario. So I don't need that in my life. The Dolphins, Coolidge at left guard, 69 overall, is kind of a bust. Then they get, we traded them this pick, and they end up taking a halfback. 73 overall out of LSU. Nobody else there really noteworthy. The Eagles, Hurd, 75 overall. See, I could have gotten him, but we don't need him. Emerson, a 74 overall wideout in the second round is a pretty good pick. And then here, I think, did we look at this guy? I feel like we did. 70 overall in the fourth round is pretty good for defensive end. The Falcons, Dobson, 77 overall. We would not have been able to go get him. And he's not the kind of guy that we want. I think he's a 3-4 type outside linebacker. We don't need that. We looked at this guy. There was another center. I can't remember the dude's name. But how about 75 overall in the third round? Early in the third round, but still third round. Pretty solid. He'd be good enough to start on our team just about. Here's Barner. Remember, he went way high. Only a 74 overall. He better be a hidden dev trait. Okay, he is, but 74 overall, maybe a little bit of a disappointment. That high in the draft. They got a good halfback out of USC. Wilcox, Thornton. Okay. The Niners, a D tackle who wasn't. Oh, they didn't have a first round pick. So. Harper, D tackle, not that impressive, 73 overall. We looked at that guy a little bit as well. And then nothing super impressive down there. The Jags get a pretty good quarterback. The number 10 pick, Devin Jenkins, 76 overall, and a hidden dev trait. So there you go. Good for them. They had a good draft class. These top three are solid picks. Good for them. The Jets also get a QB, 74 overall, also a hidden dev trait, and he's a scrambler. So look out. Luke Evans, remember we looked at him as a potential pick there in the first round, but we didn't really need it. He's a 76 overall and a hidden dev trait. Man, that would have been nice. D tackle. So they had a pretty good draft class there, honestly. The Lions, another quarterback, hidden dev trait, 77 overall out of Notre Dame. So he could end up being pretty good. There's Toby Talley. Remember, we looked at him but didn't think he would be there. Oh, wait. He went 7th overall. There's another corner, 73. And then Sean Gore we looked at, 70 overall. What's his dev trait? He's the guy that had crazy good physicals. Yep. See, hidden dev trait. You can usually bank on that when a guy is way up at the top of his draft class in the combine and the pro day. So they get an outside linebacker. Nothing super sexy there. Brian Nix, Cannon, Hearns. Nothing super sexy there. Patriots. We looked at this guy, Josh Mahone, 74 overall, and then they take another linebacker, 73 overall with the next pick. Strong safety. That's a pretty decent top 3 there, I guess. The Raiders. They get a wide receiver, Jonathan Bridges, a deep threat. You better be a hidden dev trait. He is. 71 or 74 overall out of Ohio State with a hidden dev trait. Then a crappy corner. Some decent defensive ends, another crappy corner, crappy quarterback. All right, Dalton Farrell. We looked at that guy, but he was the power rusher type. He went right before us in the draft. No. Who am I thinking of? He went later, but whatever. 74 overall. Didn't fit our scheme. Nobody there that I'm really that concerned about. Nobody there that I'm really concerned about. I want to find that center that we thought about getting later in the draft, like the 4th round or whatever. Where did he go? Groves, halfback, 73. Nobody real crazy good there. Seahawks. Dyson. Oh, wow, that is a terrible draft class. Jeez. A 65 overall for your first pick? That's ours. Oh, we got the center. It was that Lane that I was thinking about. And he ended up being much better than what we ended up getting. But whatever. Then the Texans. Pretty good wide receiver. My robot vacuum is stuck on something. I'm going to have to go get it in a second. Decent left end there for the Titans. And then the Vikings. Last but not least, Evan Crawford, a tight end, 75 overall. And I remember he had pretty good physicals. I bet he's a hidden dev trait. Yep. He's going to end up being pretty good, I bet. All right, so I'm pretty sure that'll wrap up the draft. So now basically what I need to do is kind of just mess around with the roster and get ready for the next regular season. So hang tight. All right, so time for this year's Hall of Fame induction. We've got Darrelle Revis going in. Used to just be, like, for a couple years, just absolute dominant. You put him on an island and you could just pretty much forget about the ball being thrown that direction. But the last few years, obviously not quite as efficient. But that's the way it is with almost every corner. You know, you always have guys like Sherman, Josh Norman that come out of nowhere for a couple years. They're just absolutely dominant at their position, and then they fade away. Charles Woodson is about the only guy that I could think of that was kind of an exception to that, where he just seemed to extend that career. He went to safety eventually. +5 man coverage for all safeties and corners for the next 6 weeks. Interesting. I don't necessarily agree with those benefits. Like, why does my team benefit from a guy going into the Hall of Fame that never even played for our team? All right, hire and assign scouts. So let's take a look at what's going on here. I don't know if our team scouts are still intact, but we might need to shift some things around here. So my tier 3 guy is good at free safeties and strong safeties. I don't necessarily know that that's going to help me because we're good at safety. I don't plan on drafting one in the first round, so let's let him go. We just drafted an end there. So, like, Talib at corner, I kind of like. Next year, I'm really thinking about going for a wide out because we're going to come up on the scenario where we need to decide to, like, we've got 3 really good wide receivers. We're going to have to let one of them go at some point. I want to be prepared to have the next man up be a rock star. So I think we're going to go look for a wide receiver in this year's class. Wide receiver and corner, I kind of want to address. I don't know that we necessarily need a middle linebacker guy. I feel like we're pretty good there with Devin Bush, Nick Morrow, and then Buddy Johnson as our third guy. And there's even somebody behind him that's not very good, but like we're in good shape there. So let's skip on that. What do I put in his place though? So we've got somebody looking at halfbacks, which I'm okay with that because we're probably at the point where we need to start looking for somebody to eventually take over for Najee Harris. And it might take a few years for them to be ready. So, all right, let's see what we got. Free agent scouts. Wait, who do I need now? I need a tier 1 and a tier 3. So let's sort by tiers and go tier 3 first. And Johnny Rose, I think you're my guy. I want to look for a stud wideout, and you're the only guy there. Yeah. So hire him. And now tier 1. What did I say that we would look for here? I don't really know. Let's go guard and center, maybe? I mean, Trey Turner's getting up there in age a little bit, so this might not be a terrible idea. Let's go for it. Because even his backup, Joe Haig, is not even a traditional guard, and he's getting up there in age. So I think that gives us a good mix. We got O-line, we got D-line. In fact, we've got Watt on one end and a stud defensive end on the other. I'm going to change this to defensive tackle. And I'll show you why here shortly. So let's find somebody who can scout D tackles. Are you kidding me with this? No tier 1 defensive tackle scouts out there. How about tier 2? None. There are none anywhere. Well, I guess let's bring this guy. Let's go back here. And what we'll do is we'll scout the ends, but we'll be looking for a defensive tackle type that we can just move inside. So now I need to assign by region. And this is going to be important because, like, I probably want to be scouting SEC corners. So let's make this guy southeast. Wait. Okay. My national scout is going to do the wide receivers. For guards and centers, we're going like the central. I want those farm boys that just have like crazy good strength. At left end, let's go west. Actually, let's go northeast for that, because I'm thinking maybe we get like a big, bulky, where they don't necessarily emphasize speed, like in the Big Ten, and then, what's that leave? A West Coast running back. We're looking for the next Reggie Bush here. All right, let's do it. So that's our scouting assignments. Okay, so now let's take a look at the depth chart. So we know that Crawford's going to be the starting QB. Haskins will back him up. I would like to have a third string QB. You never want to have a scenario where somebody comes, Crawford gets hurt early in the game. Haskins comes in, and if he gets hurt, even for a few plays, like, you don't have an offense. So we got to at least have somebody who kind of has an idea what they're doing and could be a threat to throw the football. Najee Harris, Benny Snell, like, we're good at halfback. Fullback is going to be Derek Watt still. Now at wideout, we're still in good shape here. But again, like, we're coming up on the potential to where we've got to decide what to do with these guys. And whoever is due up next to be re-signed could just be let go. We'll still have two good wideouts and James Washington in the slot and Ray, who has definitely proven himself as a capable NFL wideout for us. He's not great, but he makes some plays. We're really good at tight end for right now. Like, Foster Moreau is our third string. That's pretty solid. Now, Jackson at left tackle is fine. He's injury prone, but Okorafor is there to back him up, and he's not like much of a drop off, so that's cool. We need to pick up another left guard, and then we'll be good there. So left guard we will need to address. We're fine at center. Right guard, again, Trey Turner's getting up there in age. Joe Haig is up there in age, and he's really a right tackle. So what I would like to do is potentially go find, I got to find a left guard. Then I either need to find a right guard or a right tackle. If I find a right tackle, we just stick them in there. If I find a right guard, we put them in at backup guard and move Haig back to tackle where he belongs. We're good at defensive end, at least on the left side. On the right side, it's Monroe, and then it's a little thin. Like, who's my... Yikes. We only have one. Now, I don't think it's going to matter too much because, like, this guy could be my backup. Then we've got Jason McDonald, a rookie, who actually is probably better at the position. In fact, let's just do it. I think that's the better move there. He's a little on the weak side, but compared to Larkin, it's not that, much of a difference. So just let that go. Now, D-tackle, we are a little bit soft here. Like, I thought Wormley was going to be better than a 72 when we move him inside. I'm kind of bummed about that because now, like, I need to decide, like, do I put him in over Bugs, knowing that Bugs is technically the better rated player? Or do I go with Wormley knowing, like, even though Bugs is supposed to be better, like, Wormley makes plays. But Bugs has really good block shedding, better tackling, better strength. So I think that's the right move. So up the middle, we're a little bit, sketchy, but I think we'll be okay. And getting Quincy Shield a bunch of reps is really going to help. So I think we're okay there. I might go look to bring in a depth right end. We'll see. We're good at outside linebacker on that side. Good up the middle. Right outside linebacker, we're fine. Corner, I went and picked up Jeff Gladney in free agency. He's only like 26, and it says he's a 76 overall, but I think he's really like a 73 and getting some perks from whatever bonuses we are getting right now. But I feel like we're pretty good at corner for the time being, but we need to keep trying to address it. Fitzpatrick is a stud, and then Edmonds is pretty solid at strong safety. Now, kicker, but he's rookie. Like, we'll just deal with it. I'm hoping that it doesn't impact us too much. over the course of the season, but I think we'll be okay. Gabe Connor is our best kick returner, and it's not even really that close. But all of these guys are basically on the roster as kick returners. I'm not going to do that. Now, Joshua Little is on the roster as a pretty good kick returner. He doesn't have the speed that Ray does. Why is he better here? I think Ray is the better option there. But anyway, at least we're seeing his name pop up on the depth chart a little bit. Our kickoff specialist. Yeah, we'll just have Harvin do it because he can give us more touchbacks. I'm not worried about developing our rookie kicker by giving him more reps. Third down back is going to be Najee. Power back is going to be Najee. Slot wide out. This is where it gets a little bit interesting because I want Deontay in here. Claypool is still a capable wideout. If I put Deontay there, he can make plays in the slot where I like to throw the football anyway. So we'll do that. Rushing left end is going to be TJ Watt. Right end is going to be the rookie Monroe. I like that they put him there by default. That's awesome. D tackle is not going to be Bugs. It's going to be Quincy. Come on, Quincy. And then Wormley is going to get some playing time, it looks like, when we go to the nickel. So that's good, because that's going to be a lot. And that way we'll get guys cycling in and out, too. So, all right, we're good at that spot. And then in the slot, it's going to be Witherspoon, Lane, Gladney in that order. All right, so what did I need to address? Guard, potentially either right guard or right tackle. And then right, is it right end or left end? I don't think it matters. So we got to go here, and let's just find some, and possibly a backup quarterback. Now, we've got tons of cap room, so we can actually be a little bit aggressive here. Like, Brady is out there, and nobody's wanting to sign him. He's 46, still an 88 overall. That is a crying shame that nobody's going to pick him up. Like, come on. I could go get someone like Cam Newton as a third stringer. But let's see, like Nick Foles is there. Taysom Hill. Big Ben is still hanging around. Like, I don't need anybody outstanding here. I want somebody with some experience. How about, let's just go get like Deshaun Kaiser. It doesn't matter because they're probably never going to see the field. But I just want someone on the roster is all. So, yeah, we'll add him. I'm okay with Haskins as my backup, which is basically what that comes down to there. Now, guard. Let's go get this guy. 67 overall, and he's 25 years old. He's just a backup anyway. Get him on the roster. Now we've got somebody to back up Dotson. Now, right guard, what's there? Another guy that's 67 overall, 25 years old. And that's my guy. Where are you at, dude? Nate Herbig. Add him. And was there anything else? I think it's right end that I will need, but let's look at left end. Like, I want somebody who is a speed rusher. Jordan Jenkins, 29 years old, 71 overall is a maybe. And then right end, this is our guy. He's the best one available. He fits our mold. And he's not even much of a drop-off from who we've got. So that's good. I don't think I needed anything else, did I? We were good at linebacker, corner, safety. Let's just go back and look at, like, of all of the players available. Is there any stud out there? Like, I should go and just sign Oku. I can't remember how you pronounce his name, but he's got a leg. He's pretty accurate. But you know what? Let's see how the rookie does. If we need to address kicker eventually, we can do it. Miles Gaskin is there, but we don't need any that, I think we're good with what we've got. Again, I can go and get a pretty good kicker if I want to, but I'm going to give the rookie a chance. So we're now ready to kind of just work our way through the preseason. So I'm going to sim through those games. We don't really need to worry about wins and losses or whatever. Let's just kind of hope that we stay healthy going into the regular season. So that'll do it for this episode. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, comment below, and we'll see y'all next time.
Good evening, friends and neighbors. Or shall I say this afternoon?